City Manager's report.
Well, one thing I want to report on that we have now received back from GRDA is their official response to FERC concerning the shoreline management plan. A couple things I want to highlight is, one, in their general comments, they stated the goal of the GRDA in writing the shoreline management plan was to produce a plan that maximizes both the benefits of protecting important environmental resources and securing opportunities for future recreational and economic development. And I think that was the contention that we had here in the city of Grove with the shoreline management plan that was presented by GRDA, then recommended, within recommendations made by FERC, would impede both the recreational and the economic development of Grove in the future if it was approved as presented. And a couple of things I want to indicate to you. More specifically, on page 6, concerning wetlands, and this directly affects the city of Grove. FERC had recommended that the wetlands in Wolf Creek and Cary Bay be protected as stewardship areas. They're recommended by the FWS, which is the Wildlife Service, the Federal Wildlife Service, and I believe that what we wanted to hear from GRDA in their response back is that they wanted to take that area and make it as much as possible an area that could have economic development in the future. FERC's recommendation is stewardship would essentially cut out all development along that shoreline, therefore having no further recreational or economic development opportunities in that area. And a couple things I want to point out from GRDA. They say that the economies of both these communities, which they were talking about, Monkey Island and the city of Grove, are fueled largely by Grand Lake, and their futures hang largely upon the economic development opportunities it affords. Recommendation 6 fails to appreciate the high desirability of these locations for future development and the efforts of GRDA has made in the SMP to mitigate for those pressures through the classification of other lands. This recommendation would eliminate the possibility of future shoreline development in parts of Wolf Creek, Cary Bay, and Monkey Island, and would have a chilling effect on economic growth and recreational opportunities in these areas. These are exactly what we wanted in our resolution that we sent to GRDA and sent to FERC and our representatives concerning this. So I wanted to let council know that it looks like GRDA is on our side. A couple of other things I wanted to point out too is that I was still fearful that the combining of the stewardship and essentially the non-stewardship areas, that combine those together to create this fusion of a let me make sure I get this right, responsible growth wetlands area. And I was afraid that if they combined those, at the end of the day, that the rules and regulations would fall on the side of stewardship than it would on the area of responsible growth. And I want to read this directly from GRDA's response, and because it does deal with this subject matter. Under the September 2000 plan, review of the proposed new uses of responsible growth areas would start with the presumption that they were allowable and were then considered in light of various factors including surrounding uses and environmental characteristics of the area. In stewardship areas, review of proposed new uses would start with a strong presumption that they were prohibited unless the applicant could meet one of these 3 narrowly defined exceptions. So that's what I was looking for, is what they would start off with the presumption that if someone came with a good plan for any kind of economic development or recreational opportunity, that they would presume that it would be allowed rather than not allowed. And that's what they addressed here specifically. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to point out here tonight. I've given you guys all a copy of the response, and I'm just going to end with stating that I think it kind of sums it up for GRDA, that they're strongly opposed to the recommendations that call for the reclassification of Wolf Creek, Cary Bay, and Monkey Island as stewardship areas, and the recreation of subclassifications with responsible growth SMC. These recommendations threaten to have a chilling effect upon the economic growth in those areas and around Grand Lake generally, and will ignore the will and needs of the people of northeast Oklahoma. And that's the way they ended their response back to FERC. So.
Thank you. Is there any feel that FERC will listen to these inputs?
I don't know.
They haven't before the seems like in the past on some of the inputs that came in, so.
I think from reading some of the comments in here, they have very good arguments against some of the recommendations that FERC made. FERC, from what it had initially presented to GRDA, is to create the shoreline management plan. Now they're talking about what they can do with houses, commercial, and retail projects. And I think GRDA is kind of pushing back, hey, let's go back to the original scope of SMP, which is trying to find a balance between the environment and growth. So.
What's our current status with Blue, Grand Lake United Enterprise?